Today, let us take some time to study the Word of God together with the sermon titled, This is the Problem. As we walk the path of faith, we encounter numerous challenges. Should I follow God's will? Or should I make God follow my will? In other words, should I make God follow me? We often find ourselves at this crossroads. This is indeed a significant problem. We intellectually understand that we must follow God's will. However, in our daily lives, amidst numerous worries and conflicts, we often wonder, should I follow the will of God? Or should God align with my will? Everyone, it is perplexing, isn't it? Despite the fact that it is only natural for us to learn about God and follow His teaching and will in our life of faith, we may sometimes develop the misguided tendency to try to mold God's will to fit our own desires and make God follow our will. Therefore, in the Bible, this issue is categorized as childish faith and mature faith. In other words, the faith of an adult. First, let's open the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Let's take a look at chapter 13, verse 11. When I was a child, I talked like a child. When do we say we are like a child? It is when we are young and immature. It is when our faith is not yet able to properly understand God's will and fully grasp the truth. When I was a child, I talked like a child. And although I heard the same explanation, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. I couldn't help but have the faith of a child. But when I became a man, what happened? I put the ways of childhood behind me. We must no longer have such ways. We must discard them. For this reason, the title of today's sermon is, This is the Problem. We need to put the ways of childhood behind us. Children want their parents to follow their will all the time. If their desires are not met, how do they react? They cry. Moreover, they engage in various actions that cause difficulty for their parents. They scream and throw tantrums until their wishes are fulfilled. It is the same with our faith. When we were children, we talked like a child. We thought like a child. And we reasoned like a child. However, when we have mature faith, we must put the ways of childhood behind us. We must discard the childish ways. Why do we have to put them behind us? Isn't it because they are not good? Please do everything according to my wishes. Please follow my will. These are the ways of childhood. We can say that these are thoughts, words, and behaviors that a child displays. It is written, when I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. A mature person doesn't say, follow my will. Rather, whose will should they follow? The day before the crucifixion, Jesus knew that He would be crucified the next day. But when He prayed all night in the Garden of Gethsemane, He said, Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me. Yet not my will, but yours be done. His words do not mean, please follow my will, but rather signify that He will follow the will of the Father. Doesn't this indicate, I will follow you? In the Bible, this is referred to as obedience. Everyone, As we look around us, we can see God's countless creation abound in nature. People say that a tree knows its own worth. It is content with its given position and does not complain by asking, "Why have you planted me here?" or "Why have you moved me here?" Instead, a tree gracefully adapts according to where God has placed and sown it. In simple terms, all of nature follows God's will. There is not a single aspect of nature that asks Him to change the situation according to its own desires. The mountains, the rivers, and the seas all abide by their designated positions as set by God, content with their roles. Not once would they question, "Why have I been made a sea?" Or, as a tree, "Why have I been placed in this countryside when I desire to be in the city?" Indeed, no part of nature disobeys or rebels against the divine will of God. For this reason, I would like to share a certain phrase with all of you to contemplate together. A tree knows how to be content with its given role. It never complains about being a tree. It does not question, "Why am I placed here and not there?" Greed obscures wisdom, leading to disobedience and being engulfed in complaints and grumbles. Ultimately, it makes us forget to express gratitude. I found this to be a meaningful message for us to reflect upon together. The tree knows how to be content. When we look at nature around us, we see that they know their place and are content, never questioning, "Why have I been made a mountain when I wish to be a plain?" Or "Why have I been created as an ocean when I desired to be a field?" There is no creation that does not follow the work of God. However, it is mankind who is the problem. They disobey God's will and fail to submit to His teachings, questioning, "Why did you place me in this position? Why did you grant such a high position to someone else?" Everyone, this is the problem. When we were children, we demanded everything. However, isn't the eternal kingdom of heaven now drawing near? As the kingdom of heaven approaches, we must cast aside the ways of childhood and have mature faith. From now on, instead of saying, "Please do everything according to my wishes," we should ask, "What is Father's will? What is Mother's will? I want to follow your path and your way. If I am a tree, I will be faithful to the duty of a tree. If I am a sea, I will be faithful to the duty of a sea. If I am a mountain, I will be faithful to the duty of a mountain." With this faith, all of our prophets and our beloved members should declare, "I will fully devote myself to the path that our father and mother guide us on, according to their providence of creation." When it comes to obedience, it is not applied differently to the prophets and saints. Everyone must walk in accordance with the path that father and mother lead us to, just as Jesus exemplified. He prayed, "Yet not my will, but yours be done." It is necessary for all of us to reflect on the prayer that He offered in this manner. Let us take a look at Revelation chapter 14, verse 4. Chapter 14, verse 4. "These are those who did not defile themselves with women, for they remain virgins. They follow the Lamb wherever He goes." When it says wherever, it is not limited to a certain environment. It could be a very confined space or a very vast and expansive one. There's no fixed definition for wherever. Regardless of the environment given to us, we must be able to adapt to it and say, "May it be done according to Father's will and Mother's will." Shouldn't we be able to experience such a world of faith? Currently, the gospel throughout the world is progressively advancing towards completion. In every stage toward the completion, those who have mature faith and adhere to Father's will and Mother's will are needed. A young child always demands, "Do what I want." However, what about the mature? They declare, "I will follow Father's will and Mother's will." In Revelation chapter 14, Apostle John's vision depicts those who are saved. Wherever they are led, what do? They follow the Lamb wherever he goes. There's not even one person who says, "Please conform to my will." We must focus on this aspect when studying the Bible. When we have mature faith, our prayers are no longer focused on asking for things to be done according to our desires. Instead, we ask, "What is your will? Where do you want us to go? What do you want us to do? What kind of people do you want us to become?" When we possess such faith that allows us to follow the will of Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother, won't the moment of the completion of salvation and the eternal kingdom of heaven come more quickly? Those who have childish faith, those who constantly beg for everything to cater to their needs, always complain and grumble. This prevents them from obtaining the perfection that Father and Mother desire. Of course, behaving like a child because one does not know the truth well can be understandable. We can understand thinking, since they are new members, they haven't learned much yet. However, if someone who has learned a lot and has been in the truth for a while still acts like a child, isn't that inappropriate? It is written, "When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me." That is the teaching of the Bible. It is acceptable when we are children, but when we become mature, we must forsake the ways of childhood and rather think, "What is the will of Father and Mother? What kind of people does God want us to become? What does God want us to do at this moment?" In this way, the children of Zion should correctly understand and carry out God's will, right? Let's take a look at 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4. Chapter 10, verse 4. "The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient." To whom? Christ. "And we will be ready to punish every act of disobedience once your obedience is complete." We should take captive all of our thoughts and follow God's will with obedience. Only when we accomplish this level will God judge and punish the entire world who are not doing so. We all want to go to the kingdom of heaven as soon as possible, don't we? We have hope for the kingdom of heaven. If so, what should we do with childish faith? We must abandon it. Please be understanding toward those who have just received the truth and may behave like children. However, if you are in the leading position as the mature, who should set an example for the members, you must put the ways of childhood behind you. Please think of trees. A tree knows what its duty is and finds contentment in fulfilling its role accordingly. The tree finds contentment and happiness in its life, basking in the warmth of sunlight, which is God's grace, absorbing the rain, breathing in the fresh air, and being surrounded by the joyful songs of all living creatures. This is because it understands its proper place in life. It knows well that the spot where God has planted it is the precise place where it is meant to live. Take a moment to observe nature and all creation. God created the heavens, the earth, and everything within them. Each mountain proudly maintains its dignity, and every river is well aware of its purpose. Do the nameless flowers blooming in the fields ever grumble? God, why did you not create me as the roses or the other flowers cherished by people? Why must I grow here unremarkable in the wild? Do the wild flowers grumble against God? No, they are content with where they are. I am truly grateful to God for granting me this life. They diligently fulfill their roles right where they are. If all the children of Zion fully follow the will of Father and Mother, the gospel will be complete. The gospel is completed when the desired situation that God wants is achieved. If we want to go to the kingdom of heaven, yet we do not know the way to go there, not being satisfied with our current position, then we cannot say that we are God's workers. For this reason, what is the title of today's sermon? This is the problem. When we put all these ways of childhood behind us, God will be pleased with us and open wide the door of the gospel in Asia. He will also open the door of the gospel in North America and in Central America, as well as South America. God will open the door of the gospel in Africa, and even in Europe, in every region throughout the world. The entire world requires this preparation. Childish faith must be transformed to mature faith. According to the teachings in Revelation chapter 14 and in 2 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 6 that we just read, if we come to have mature faith and our obedience becomes complete, only then would God be able to proclaim that the gospel mission has been completed and punish the wicked. In other words, God would have reason to judge the wicked. If God brings judgment right now, His children cannot be saved. So what does God continue to do? He grants us another year and continues to watch over us. Have they acquired mature faith? Or are they still persisting to fulfill their own desires? We should be determined and say, we will completely follow and comply with the will of Father and Mother. In this way, we should bring about a beautiful transformation in our faith. A dragonfly undergoes metamorphosis from a larval form to possessing stunning, silvery transparent wings and a slender, streamlined tail. What is necessary for it to have two large compound eyes? Transformation is essential. All the children of Zion will inevitably experience such a transformation in the blink of an eye. To accomplish this, we must first and foremost resolve this problem. Do we have childish faith or mature faith? Do we merely demand everything should be tailored to suit me? Or have we determined to follow the will of Father and Mother If there is no obedience, God cannot find justification to punish and judge the wicked. Why is that? As the just and righteous judge, God looks to judge the wicked, but he sees that even his children are not yet fully mature. Thus, if he were to pass judgment right away, his beloved children would also inevitably suffer spiritual harm. That is why he waits. If we want to go to the kingdom of heaven, our faith must become mature. We must examine once more where the will of father and mother lies, collaborate, support one another, pray for each other, show consideration for one another, and help each other on the journey toward the kingdom of heaven. I humbly request that all our heavenly family members strive to embody these qualities. Shall we take a look at Hebrews chapter 3? Let's take a look at Hebrews chapter 3, verse 18. In Hebrews chapter 3, verse 18, it is written, "And to whom did God swear that they would never enter his rest, if not to those who disobeyed?" So we see that they were not able to enter because of their unbelief. Where did they fail to enter? Physically, they could not enter Canaan. What does this mean spiritually? This means they failed to enter the eternal kingdom of heaven. That is why Revelation chapter 14 recorded about those who follow the Lamb wherever he goes. It is not about following without any thought. It is said, a tree knows how to be content with its given role. It never complains about being a tree. It does not question, why am I placed here and not there? Greed obscures wisdom, leading to disobedience and being engulfed in complaints and grumbles. Ultimately, it makes us forget to express gratitude. A tree is extremely grateful for the life that God has given to it. So it does not grumble, "Why did you place me here instead of there? Why did you create me as a tree instead of as a beautiful flower?" It is said that a tree would never complain about such things. Shouldn't we adopt such perspectives from now on? When we were a child, we talked like a child. We thought like a child. We reasoned like a child. Everything we did was childish. Suppose parents bought dolls for their son and daughter. But then, the stronger child persists to have both dolls, being consumed with greed. Such stubbornness comes from greed. When someone asks for everything to be done only according to their own will, we can say that they still have the ways of childhood. In every process of the gospel, there is a place for each of us set by God. No matter where he places us, there is no need to be dissatisfied with all that God's doing. Although it may seem like the work of men, God carries out everything. Our church is under God's guidance. Therefore, like a tree, we ought to be content and give thanks for our position and role, not complaining and questioning, "Why have you placed me here?" or "Why have you put them there?" We should believe that God has a purpose for putting us in certain positions and wholeheartedly devote ourselves to the task at hand. Then, won't the gospel be preached in Samaria and to the ends of the earth in an instant? In Hebrews chapter 3, it mentions about those who failed to enter the land of Canaan, which, spiritually speaking, is the kingdom of heaven. It is written that those who disobeyed were not able to enter. This is what God says, while even taking an oath. He even swears that such people can never enter. Therefore, we must quickly grow from childish faith to mature faith. Ultimately, we should rejoice always, pray continually. And what else should we do? We should give thanks in all circumstances. Only then can we walk the path of obedience. By doing so, we should consider what makes our Zion family members around us feel uncomfortable. What should we do to help them? How can they grow spiritually? We should constantly contemplate these questions and take care of them. Just as Jesus said, "If you love me, feed my sheep," we should feed our beloved brothers and sisters spiritually and take good care of them so that we can all enter the eternal kingdom of heaven. I hope that we will be able to fulfill this mission. Let's take a look at the book of Isaiah, chapter 14. Let's see Isaiah chapter 14, verse 24. The Lord Almighty has sworn, "Surely as I have planned, what will happen? So it will be. And as I have purposed, so it will happen." It is written, so it will happen. Whose will is this? This is the will of God. Then what is God's plan and administration? In Matthew chapter 28, how far does the gospel go? God says that it will be preached to all nations. In Matthew chapter 24, God says that it will be preached to the whole world. Doesn't He give us the same word in Romans chapter 10? For this to happen, no one should remain as a child. We need mature faith. Since we have been called first, let us become spiritually mature so that we can properly guide the new members who are like children, Zion family members who newly received the truth towards God. Obeying the will of father and mother is a sign of mature faith. While insisting on my own way, my own thoughts, or following my stubbornness, characterizes a child regardless of their position. Those who have childish faith cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. Today, let us once again reflect on all of these teachings God has given us. Instead of saying, "Follow me," let us say, "Follow glorious Father Ahnsahnghong and glorious Heavenly Mother." We must all follow them. I sincerely hope that all our loving heavenly family members will guide and lead others in this way. By this, I would like to conclude today's sermon. Thank you very much.